Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Dscoop's HP PrintOS Series webinar. I'm Mary Wallander, the Community Manager for the Americas. Before we get started today, I'd like to go over just a couple of housekeeping items. You will be on mute throughout the presentation. If you would like to ask a question, please type it into the question box in your Zoom control panel at any time. Once the presentation has concluded, I will read the questions aloud so the presenter can respond. Also, please know that we are recording this session this morning. Today's session is HP PrintOS Series, Unleashing the Power of Possibility in Print and Packaging. I want to introduce Bob Rouse, HP's North American Category Manager. Good morning, Bob.
Hi, Mary, and welcome, everybody. Guys, we are really stretching the limits. I'm so excited here today to welcome a couple partners here. First is Douglas Gibson, the Managing Director from Infigo Software, and also John Murphy from Tharstern. They're joining us actually from the UK, and so it's very much a global activity and session today. We are actually going to be demonstrating a complete integration for packaging, everything from order receipt to estimating to production management, all the way through shipping, and then feedback directly from PrintOS site flow back to Infigo, to Tharstern, and even all the way through invoicing. So this is a very exciting day. It's a lot of, I'm going to say fulfillment of the process, the promise of automation. And without further delay, what I want to do is just take us forward and help us all understand also, in case you are new to PrintOS, we have a complete suite of products and applications out on the PrintOS cloud. And today we'll be focusing on site flow and also on our open APIs. So with that, I want to turn it over to John Murphy. Good morning. Good afternoon, John.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. So my name's John Murphy. I work as a technical specialist for Tharstern here in the UK. I'm one of a team of 5 of technical specialists who work just on integrations. Douglas, are you there? Do you want to say hello?
Hi, guys. Yeah, Douglas Gibson, Managing Director for Infigo Software. I'm really excited to be talking with everybody today.
So, Douglas.
Thanks, guys. So really what I'd like to talk about is the whole generation and the gap that we're moving for. Really today is about how we can automate from end to end, how we can drive those processes, but not just from a technology point of view, right the way from ordering online, driving an estimate, delivering that into a production workflow, pulling that information back, and then driving that into the system. Today, we're going to be looking at 2 of our products, Catfish and Mega Edit Pro, and we'll be talking about how they fit into the environment that we're looking at.
So, as I said, my name's John Murphy. We'll be talking, showing you integration with Tharstern MIS. Infigo were our first partner, really, that exploited the API between their web solution and ours. So we're going to be demonstrating that to you today and how we can use that data to drive workflows downstream and to help with your whole customer experience. Yeah, we have a totally open interface. We don't try to develop in production areas and in web-to-print solutions. We would much rather partner with forward-thinking companies like HP and Infigo. So what we're going to show you today are the 4 products working together. So Catfish, Tharstern, and then obviously into HP SiteFlow, and then all of them ultimately going to the DFE and driving workflows back. So what we will show you first of all is Catfish web-to-print solution actually interacting with Tharstern for an estimating purpose only, just using the API to create data to drive straight into SiteFlow, and then for SiteFlow to drive the devices and then feed back to Catfish as we go along. We'll also be demonstrating a second scenario, which again is using Catfish with the API, but then Catfish will be then driving into Tharstern, and then Tharstern will be interacting directly with the HP DFE as well, just to show the flexibility and the different opportunities that are available to you. So the demonstration revolves around a pizza delivery site, web to print portal. Both demonstrations will follow those processes, and they're pretty straightforward, but hopefully quite impressive. So I'm going to break now with tradition and actually start with the administration of the software. When we talk about an API interface between a web to print solution and an MIS, all you see is the end result, the price that's coming up on the screen. And what Doug and I thought would be a good idea, just to very quickly show you what happens underneath the bonnet. So we're actually in the administrative area within Infigo, and actually showing you here that when we create a product in Infigo, instead of creating it from scratch, we are able to connect via the API and connect directly to our estimating product types within the Tharstern environment. So here you can see I can select a perfect bound, which means that the administration of it and the possibilities of things going wrong are vastly reduced, plus giving you better opportunities downstream to have a web to print solution, and hopefully we'll explain that later. So if you look now, we're looking at some of the attributes, and this is just the attribute, say, for laminating, but it could be for any finishing process. So as opposed to you manually having to create this again through the REST API, you can just come into the cost center, connect it to the MIS cost center, and bring it in, and all the prices associated with that are then transferred through automatically and dynamically online. So hopefully what we can do now is show you a product that's using that REST API link to come up with that dynamic price. And this is it here, a pretty simple perfect bound product. And on the right hand side, you can see all of the attributes that we interrogate and that we are interrogating. And as we select them and change information, what you should see is that the price is being dynamically updated on the fly. So what we think is that this works obviously with a B2B web to print solution, but also there's an opportunity to use this just for remote estimating from maybe sales guys out on site. You could broaden it out because it would be easier to configure and easy to set up. So I just select that job, static artwork, confirm the order, and then basically it's then booked in and ready to be worked on. So successfully processed. So obviously Catfish can be emailing now, whatever it needs to do from a communication point of view. So the next thing we're going to do is we're very quickly going to look at another product that will go through the other workflow. So this is actually much easier from a web to print portal point of view. I just tell it that it's embossed spot colors and how many colors there are, but the product itself is far more sophisticated. So we're now going into the Mega Edit Pro module within Catfish. And you can see that because I've set that there's a spot varnish on this job and embossing, that it's actually created multiple layered PDF files within the system. And within those, each layer, there are editable fields that can be set whatever way you want. So there's the base layer. We could go in and insert new images or make text modifications in here, or we can select the emboss layer here, as I'm doing, and then basically just edit that as I want. So very simple process, text automatically resizes. I then jump over onto the varnish side, go and make the modification to the spot UV varnish as well. Apologies that it wasn't more creative. So we make those modifications. So there's a really wonderful feature within the Mega Edit module is the preview. So if we just preview this particular product, you can see that it actually brings those layers together and will visually represent them for you, and more importantly for your customer. So here you can see the embossing on the back of the page is illustrated, and also the spot UV varnish is there as well.
I think that's really cool stuff.
Yeah, I agree. So once we're happy with what we've seen, all we then need to do is to add it to the basket, confirm it, and then our work here has been done. And just bear in mind that even though that was done there, the pricing still came from the REST API connection to Tharstern. So that $10.96 is exactly what's happened there. So that's what we've done within Catfish. Now, what we're going to do is show you two different ways that we might deal with those individual files. So the first way is obviously you've already seen the API connection into Catfish. Catfish is now going to drive that product into SiteFlow, into HP SiteFlow. So I'm just going to hand over to Doug now, and he'll explain to you what you're doing.
So we can see here that our job is arrived in the SiteFlow. We can see the order queue here. By clicking on the jobs, one of the really nice features of the SiteFlow and the Catfish integration is showing off the different components. So we've taken this job, split it out into different areas, your folder, your emboss, and your spot, and we can push that into different workflows within the environment. So whether something needs to be digitally printed or go off to a Scodex or other types of finishing devices, all of that can be automated. And bringing that together as part of the production process, we can also bring different jobs, and then your operators can easily drive those jobs out regardless of the type of job that is going, whether it be from a finishing, a coating, a cutting point of view. Everything can be clearly visualized from that point of view. So it's really smart. And once we're finished with that job, I'm just going to simulate an example here, but I would now want to push that job into a ship status. So I can go into my job, I can set that job as being shipped, and with a complete two-way integration, just as we were showing from the estimation point of view, I've now got a list of orders that's now updated within my PrintOS account. And now I can go over to my Catfish. I can see that currently my job is being set as paid and in processing. And with a refresh, that job has now automatically updated to a ship status. And if I need to, from a CSR or a customer point of view, an email can be generated at that point, keeping the customer fully updated. And from a CSR's perspective, I can see what's going on with that job, any information about that job, look at the paid information, and so on and so forth. And you're really bringing the power here of driving that estimate from Tharstern and pushing that into the system. I'm now going to hand over to John to talk a little bit about the other side of the workflow.
So what I'd like to do is just going to insert here for a second and make sure we remind everybody to go ahead and type in questions. If you have questions along the way, we'll be reading them and getting answers and things towards the end of the session. So make sure you take advantage of that. Sorry, John, go ahead.
Thank you. So what we're doing in this particular case is we're getting to the DFE, going via Tharstern, not going via SiteFlow in this particular case. And what we should be able to see is that the job, when it's submitted, has automatically been created. So here we are, we're now looking at Tharstern. So we can see the job's been created, and actually it's already been submitted into the workflow, exactly the same as what you had with the Smart Sling workflow. If I open the job up, I'm just going to take a quick look at the estimate, very brief look at the estimate. We've seen the outcome. We've seen the price that the workflow came up with. But in here, you're actually able to see the method of manufacture. So actually, this is how Tharstern arrived at the price that it did. And actually, it's created presetting data for every step. What you can also see is the process that we called through the REST API is here. This is how it would act. And that's very much how we look at it with the API connection, is that you've got an interface that actually looks and feels as if it's actually the application itself. So with those particular jobs, we've sent them down to, in this case, to the Production Pro, to the DFEs, and we have selected the appropriate ticket template, and we actually have support for EPM mode in there as well. So if we put something maybe like a switch workflow in or something along those lines that can identify whether the product is appropriate for EPM, it can dynamically select that. And you can see here that the job is populated with the material and the information and the quantity that's required for that particular job, and obviously the appropriate calibration. So if those jobs were now down on the devices and were run, we would be expecting to see some feedback. So if I just open up that job now after it's finished, we can look in here at the totals, and we should see the dynamic feedback that we got from the DFE. And obviously that also gives us the opportunity to update milestones within the Infigo software as well to do the same result as we saw elsewhere. But here you can see we have the cost analysis. I'll just make you aware of it. information we have here is at the top, that's our estimated values, and down here are our actuals. So here you can see the clicks that we've received back so that we can see that everything's in order. So hopefully what we've given you today is extremely brief overview of some of the opportunities that are available with connecting these 4 great products together. And obviously sowed a few seeds, helping you to make a decision as to what way you want to go in the future.
And I'll just step in there for a bit. So just to summarize there, thanks, John, is really about the power of bringing this into this, where we started, this whole Uber generation, and delivering that fully automated platform. People are used to getting not just a live price, but a completely end-to-end status of what they're doing. Whether they're getting an Uber, they're buying Uber Eats, or they're getting something off of Amazon. It's not important that one part of the journey is automated, but the whole part, and that includes the customer and ultimately taking the payment from our credit card, getting the invoice through an email, and that whole end-to-end process. And that's something of the power of delivering that from the online perspective from Catfish, directly driving the production power of the site flow solution, and then Tharstern's handling all of that invoicing, that job information, and really driving that end-to-end power of all the systems working together, which is a real sort of panacea of the printers that we visit and meet every day, and I'm sure a panacea of a lot of people on the call. So thanks very much for that, John. It's really, really, really good.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree. Now, let me ask you a question, just thinking maybe a little bit like our audience. So this is a great demo. It's you know, very smooth, well delivered. Thank you. Here's a question. So, you know, how much effort went into this integration? You know, we talk about APIs, we talk about, you know, JDF and JSON and the cloud and everything else. And of course, PrintOS has our partner ecosystem, which I know, you know, Infigo is leveraging and so forth. So just in general, I mean, to pull this together and run it, you know, from scratch, let's say somebody in the audience said, well, that's cool, I want to do that. What does it take? How long does it?
I think the funny thing here, Bob, is we sort of reverse roles a little bit, and that shows the power of the. So one of the nice things about all the partners involved, we're taking the complexity out of the process, although there's still lots of complex things going on. So John actually configured using the administration tools and the link in from the API, which probably took, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes to do a quick search, create a new product. And then I drove the site flow part. And one of the nice things about site flow, I created a new product, a SKU. I then split out the components, and I then got all of that information back. So John's side, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then my side from actually end-to-end testing that was probably less than 10 minutes itself. So, and that's, remembering we're not doing this every day. So it really is powerful. So you've got a lot of complicated nature, but in very simplified interfaces.
So I appreciate that. And we're all, I'd say, pretty fluent with driving, you know, different products and so forth. So let's say I'm a new customer out there, somebody's just kind of thinking about it and say, okay, so, you know, it's great that you guys can do it in 10, 20 minutes, half an hour. You know, in general, I guess tell me if I'm off base here, but basically there was really no development here. This is leveraging open APIs, which are already connected.
Pure configuration, Bob. Yeah, 100%.
Right? And so
yeah, that's
the key here, the key here is basically setting up, you know, Tharstern, you know, with the right, you know, products and so forth. Site flow with the right products and the workflows, and obviously, you know, Catfish with the website and so on. So if we're kind of starting from scratch, the integration is pretty well done, okay? And now the key is setting up products, setting up different flows and so forth. And so, you know, would it be fair to say from complete scratch, once everything's, you know, installed, turned on, logins, et cetera, talking a couple weeks, maybe a month at most? What do you think?
That really goes down to probably the number of products and the complexity. But I would expect once somebody has had all the training, that somebody should be between 2 to 4 weeks easily up and running and getting jobs through the system. The important thing is, and we sort of stress this with, and I'm sure John will concur with this, is not to try and do everything from day one, because things move. People want to try, I've got to do everything. The reality is things will change, your workflow will change, and the tools are there to allow it to change. So it's trying to get at the earliest point the quickest end-to-end tests. And that really will give you the power of moving this forward in a much quicker fashion.
Yeah, I agree, Doug. I mean, ordinarily, a customer will get this for either a specific job or a specific customer, and then they set it up and put it in place. And I think when they see the effort for it, it then ekes its way and grows within the business. Other opportunities come, other things you think, oh, that would be great for that. Let's do it this way. And it ends up growing organically throughout the whole company.
Right. And like everything, you know, the more you do it, the faster it'll be. Now, one of the things that, you know, the cloud, and I hear all the time from people that are using SiteFlow and so forth, is that onboarding new customers can be done quickly. The idea of bringing on somebody new, I got a new project, I can bid on things that I couldn't bid on before, because I know I can deliver things and get in production within a couple weeks. So that, you know, everything's set up. Now I got to add a new product, a new client, a new project, etc. I can quote it, I can bid it, I can get it, I can deliver it. And so, you know, these kind of tools and infrastructure that's already integrated, I think, is very powerful for all of that. We do have a question online, thank you, from Aaron McCarthy. He says, you know, if integrating into a shop that's mostly offset, with 20% of the revenue coming from digital, will this system delegate digital jobs and offset jobs accordingly? In other words, how are they, you know, managed across different devices? Utilizing SiteFlow for digital and Tharstern for offset, for example. What I can tell you from a SiteFlow perspective is we can absolutely receive a job, and we can, number one, we can output to non-HP devices such as a CTP device for offset and so forth, even other digital devices that are not HP, and we can do all of that very well. We also can set up rules in SiteFlow so that when you know, Catfish drops us a job, we can route it differently based on different parameters. So, for example, probably the easiest one to think about is maybe copy count, right? So let's say, for example, we set a threshold and we said, okay, anything that's you know, 2,000 pages or less will go to my digital, and anything that's more than that, we'd want to, you know, route over automatically to the CTP and get it on, you know, offset. And then, by the way, after it's done with offset and or, you know, digital, it's been printed, we can pick it up within SiteFlow and manage every step of finishing and binding and cutting and everything else, all the way through shipping and even out the door with integration to FedEx, UPS, USPS, all of our Canadian and also international shipping partners as well through SiteFlow. So, you know, from my perspective with SiteFlow, it's absolutely doable and something that we have customers doing today. I don't know, John, if you or Douglas want to add any thoughts to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely, I do. Yeah, so you'll notice then when we picked our product type for estimating, we didn't pick a digital product type. We just said it was a perfect bound brochure. Our estimating module will consider all technologies, whether they're litho or large format or reel fed, sheet fed. Everything can be considered if the equipment is deemed to be appropriate. Of course, what we do with it after that is with regards to once we've won the order, is of course we'd be more than happy to drive it into the HP environment and have it deal with that stuff. Or alternatively, it could be dealt with within Tharstern, so we could do individual JDFs to it, digital individual workflows. It's horses for courses. It's up to the customer, and that, of course, you have to be flexible and nimble like that if you're going to offer these kind of solutions.
Yep, that's a great question. The other thing I'll just mention also about SiteFlow is, let's say we can manage parts of an order through offset and parts through digital. So if it comes in, let's say it's a perfect bound book and there's a couple components to the book, right? There's the book block and the book cover, let's say. And it's a 200-page book or whatever. And so, okay, we need 1,000 copies and 5,000 copies, whatever. Great. Let's send the book block part to offset and drive it over there, burn some plates, run it. But let's send the covers to my Indigo and produce those and have them UV coated and so on. And then manage, collecting them in the bindery and making sure the right cover is bound to the right book block through automated barcoding of the different components and tracking every piece through production all the way through, like I said, to shipping, and even marrying up multiple products within an order so that they all get shipped in the same box. So the complete order gets shipped in one shipment to the customer in the end. So all of that's possible through PrintOS SiteFlow. We have people doing it today, all day. We're running close on time. One other question here says, is Tharstern the only integrated MIS for HP SiteFlow? So it's a great question. We have another MIS, EFI. Now, what I can tell you is, no, they're not the only one. Avanti is also fully integrated, and there's a good option there. The challenge with other MIS systems is less to do with SiteFlow and PrintOS and so forth, and with the MIS systems. Now, I'm just going to mention, for example, here, EFI, which is the lion's share of MIS out there, and they do a terrific job of it. EFI Pace has an API module, and you buy it, and once you have it, we would love to integrate that to SiteFlow. We'll work with you on a project basis. By the way, when I say project basis, I'm not talking about dollars, I mean just time. And we'd love to talk with you more about that offline. Other systems like Monarch and so on, unfortunately, don't really have a published API. And so the challenge with those systems is really integrating them with anything. And so there are some, ways to hack and so forth. But once, those manufacturers like EFI publish an API that everybody can access and leverage, we're ready to do it. So I'm not sure that helps, but I hope that helps explain the situation. So with that, we're getting right to the bottom of the hour. Let's go back to the last couple slides here, if you don't mind. One of the questions or things is, how do I sign up for PrintOS if I don't have it already? One is that you have to have an HP device. That's one of the ground rules coming in. That could be a latex device, an Indigo, a page-wide web press. It could be a Cytex, packaging printer, and so forth. So really, any of our graphic solutions business products, and that will entitle you to be able to sign up for PrintOS for free. You would go to printos.com and click this "How do I sign up" button, and just follow the instructions, and you'll get an email with an invite and set up your login. You're good to go. And then the next slide, just basically at the end, is going to help me just talk a little bit more about what's next. Mary, maybe you want to talk about what's next and take us to the end.
Yes, I do. Mark your calendars for our next HP Expert Series webinar, which will be held on May 8th. You can look for more details in your Dscoop email coming soon. And just as a reminder, all recorded Dscoop webinars will be available on dscoop.com. That's our new platform. And this session will be uploaded within the week, and you should get a reminder email with the link. Have a great day, and we'll see everyone soon.
Thanks again. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.